Africa has 30% of the world's natural resources and some of the best climate, rainfall, and soils in the world. Africa has an abundance of arable land, yet 35% of Africa's population is chronically undernourished, and the whole continent only contributes 1.3% of the world's GDP. Unbelievably, that is only equivalent to the output of the small Latin American nation of Mexico. The United Nations Development Programme, UNDP, has identified the eradication of extreme poverty as its #1 global goal. Zimbabwe has aligned itself with this goal as a partner nation. In order for this goal to be realized, hunger and food security is a fundamental issue that needs to be addressed. In the last 50 years, the African continent has received in excess of $2 trillion in foreign aid. Yet, the continent is poorer and sicker than ever before. Evidently, neither aid nor trade on their own are the answer. The number of people living below the poverty datum line has increased over the same time period. Africa remains the poorest continent in the world and continues to decline. While grain production in the last 50 years has been increasing on other continents, for example in Asia from 2 tons per hectare to 4.5 tons per hectare, and in the United States of America from 4.5 to 10 tons per hectare. Africa's production has, however, remained stagnant, hovering at around 1 ton per hectare. In Zimbabwe, the average yield of maize has dropped to below half a ton per hectare. Other crises continue to plunge Africa into dire poverty, including disease and civil wars, resulting in an entire generation of young adults being wiped out. Acute food shortages have caused nationwide malnutrition and alarming levels of child mortality. But Africa's potential is unlimited. It prides in the wonderful species of wildlife that denote the hues of its splendor. Africa is home to some of the natural wonders of the world. There is a vast spectrum of cultural diversity and great legends spanning from the ancient sites of the Egyptian pyramids to Mount Kilimanjaro and to the walls of Great Zimbabwe. With so much potential and favorable climatic conditions, why does Africa still struggle with poverty, sickness, and hunger? What is the answer? We believe that poverty is essentially a spiritual problem catalyzed by the fall of man, and therefore changing the heart of Africa is the precursor to changing the face of Africa. When man's solutions have failed, the stage is most poignantly set for the church to turn to God, with humility and unselfishness, for divine wisdom that manifestly demonstrates the glory of Christ.
My name is Dr. Goodwill Shana. I'm the president of the Evangelical Fellowship of Zimbabwe, as well as the chair of the heads of Christian denominations. Just doing one powerful thing with our agriculture could turn our yields around so that Zimbabwe can move back into being the breadbasket of Africa. So let me introduce you to Trumpet Call, which is a partnership between Foundations for Farming and the Evangelical Fellowship of Zimbabwe, but has been endorsed by the heads of Christian denominations. This is an attempt to bring transformation through agriculture. We know that Africa and Zimbabwe is faced with many challenges, especially in the area of food security.
Using a church-developed method of farming called Farming God's Way, or Foundations for Farming, Operation Trumpet Call rolled out training to over 10,000 farmers across all denominations in Zimbabwe in 2010. Their productivity would be measured against the national average of 0.4 tons per hectare. Amazingly, the Operation Trumpet Call farmers produced an average of 1.6 tons per hectare, exceeding the national average yield by 4 times. A year later, in 2011, Operation Trumpet Call farmers produced an average of 2.26 tons per hectare. This is an increase of over 5.5 tons the national average. The top female farmer produced 6.4 tons per hectare, nearly 16 times the national average. Then, the top male farmer produced 8.4 tons per hectare, which is an incredible 21 times the national average.
One of the massive themes that comes through the Bible, right from Genesis, through the Old Testament, through the life of Jesus, through the cross, and right into the New Testament, into Revelation, is God's passion for the poor. The absolute heart of the Trumpet Call message is God calling His church to make a plan for the poor. The beauty of Trumpet Call agriculture is the church turning to God for His wisdom in how to feed a nation that cannot feed itself. And the answers are so simple when we fit in with God's way. Answers like doing things on time, doing things at standard, without wastage. From a heart that's not just wanting more for oneself, but a heart that's wanting to demonstrate the wisdom of God and share the abundance with the nation and even beyond. If the church in Zimbabwe gets hold of God's wisdom, irrespective of what other factors may be coming into play around her, she has the capacity, by the people power that she represents in the nation, to feed the country. If every Christian experienced 4 times, 8 times, 10 times the yields that they're currently getting, we would have enough to export in Southern Africa in one season. It's a real opportunity for the church to demonstrate the wisdom of God, His passion for the poor, and to bring practical transformation and a demonstration of the kingdom of God.